Welcome to the Kodak family, and thanks for being here today. We sold this out almost immediately, no surprise. And I was looking back through my emails today, and Marcell and I started talking about what Kodak might be able to do to support a unique look for Euphoria Season 3 in 2022. This has been a long time coming. It was such a pleasure to work with Marcell and Sam to help develop this new film stock for the season. And we waited to bring it to market to time with the premiere of Euphoria Season 3. And so hopefully, have you all been watching? Is everybody? Okay, great. So there will be scenes from each episode that's been released so far. We're going to get to hear a little bit more about how we worked with Marcell to create this film stock and the way it contributed to the look of the current season. Our moderator today is a special friend of Kodak, Adam Newport-Berra. Adam just recently shot The Invite with Olivia Wilde, which is going to be releasing soon, and also Club Kid, which is premiering at the Cannes Film Festival. Also both shot on film. He also worked on a couple of episodes of Euphoria, and he's sneaking film onto the studio these days. So he's a good friend of Kodak. We're really happy to have him here today. And then, of course, Marcell Rebs.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for coming.
All right, I don't do this very often, so I apologize if I'm not amazing at it, but I'm going to do my best. I brought notes and everything. So this is actually, today is the first time Marcell and I have actually met in person, which kind of speaks to the life of a DP.
Yeah, which is crazy because Adam shot 2 episodes of the first season of Euphoria. So we've been talking a lot on the phone, on texting, but never met.
Yeah, and I think like the first memory I have of Marcell's sort of spirit is walking into the production office of Euphoria Season 1, and when I walked into the door, there was just a piece of paper that was taped to the door, and it had a list of rules for the show. I don't know if you remember this.
I don't. What were those?
And I don't know, I can't remember all of them. I wish I'd taken a picture, but I think one of them was like try to only use one lens, the 65 mil. One of them was like always have an ND6 in at night. There were some other ones. I can't remember.
Isn't it possible that Sam did that after I left?
Probably. Sam was probably researching everything you did to make sure that we didn't fuck up after you left.
Yeah, but maybe I did. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Marcell's, and I did this selfishly because I had a million questions for him, and I'm sure you guys too. His work is really amazing and really stands out, and
it's mutual.
Thank you. But I want to know like what your sort of Bible or rule book was for this season, because I know every season and everything you've done with Sam is very singular, and you guys impose things on yourself that in the end kind of creates a very unique product. So I'm curious like what your conversations between the two of you were that really defined the season.
Yeah, it's actually not that easy to answer that because we were not that dogmatic this time. Although I think this is the more like classical looking season or more traditional. It's not a great word, but I don't have a better one. And I think I just spent. So before we had these dogmas like we shoot on this lens, where you remember the 65 millimeter lens from season 1, we shot like 90% of it. I'm pretty sure you shot a lot on that lens as well, and we had these dogmas, but we didn't have these. Instead, we spent a lot of time just picking our tools really carefully and building like our language through these technical decisions. And for example, instead of like in the previous seasons, I spent a lot of time like figuring out how to do a certain scene, a certain shot, a certain like how to solve something in the script, like visually. And this season, I've ended up spending a lot of time just picking the tool part, like the tools. And making sure, okay, this is the right stock, this is the right format, this is the right aspect ratio. Spending a lot of time on that, and leaving it a little. It doesn't mean like we didn't have a plan of how to shoot certain scenes, but it was more open in a way, and I think we had like a really good backbone of tools, and I can go through those. Like we decided early on that this is a dolly show, so it's mostly on dolly. Sometimes we use the crane, but never handheld, which is a big departure from previous seasons. We used a lot of handheld. This just by choosing anamorphic lenses and then 65 millimeter, and so that's also changing the aspect ratio. Coming up with, I think we'll talk about the stock, which we're here, and just like spending just a lot of time to figure out how that material looks and how we expose that. So spend a lot on that and less time on storyboarding.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like, it's such a maximalist show in a lot of ways that restraining yourself actually gives you a certain freedom to think. That was what I experienced on the show. When I worked on season 1, it was by far the biggest thing I'd ever done. I was completely terrified. I was coming off of a tiny indie movie, and I show up to set, and there's techno cranes and as many lights as I wanted. And it was obviously incredible work that Marcell had done. And I think one thing I learned from Marcell after just seeing what they had done on the show was that he actually was very smart about restraining himself and letting those restraints actually inform his choices. And it's actually very liberating in a way, because it kind of funnels you into certain decisions instead of just showing up and having a million tools at your disposal.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned this, like Andy 6 at night in front of the camera, which it sounds dumb, but it just forces you to use bigger lights and just make decisions of like, okay, there's light here and there's no light there. And that's a decision which I think, especially if you're shooting digital, it's something you don't necessarily make, or I don't know. I just like those kind of things.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, before we get into the clips, I want to just talk about the stock. I don't know how much you guys know about this film stock. I've known about it for a couple of years at this point. I heard rumor that this new stock was floating around. I was insanely fucking jealous that Marcell got to talk to Kodak and do this, and I was pissed and I wanted a taste of it. So, we would beg Vanessa to give us little samples, and I've shot it over the past couple of years, sometimes successfully, sometimes not, but it's such a special stock, and I'm just curious how this relationship came to be, how you guys developed this, how it got to where it is today, because it's incredible that you guys were able to do this.
I mean, this is mostly Vanessa's, like, championing this stock and pushing it through the pipelines, I think. I had a big dream of, like, bringing back some older film stocks for a while now, and we kept talking about it, and I thought that season 3 of Euphoria might be a good occasion for that, and we started talking what's possible, and obviously, I mean, Vanessa explained to me why we can't bring back the exact same, like Vision 2 or like the older film stocks. It's just the chemicals are not around anymore. So, but she can. I think you should have a microphone too, and it's.
So, I mean, I think one of the most common questions we get daily or weekly at Kodak is to bring back former stocks, and I think people are referencing movies from bygone eras and wanting to recreate a similar look. And what is complicated is that the components that were used to make those products are no longer available. So we can't take a formulation off the shelf and just recreate it. We really have to start over and reformulate something that would hopefully offer similar results. Another thing that we talk to filmmakers about a lot is that those stocks were really designed when everything was being printed. And so some of the things people remember from those stocks might be different in current workflow. So when we started talking to Marcell about what we could do for Euphoria Season 3, we knew there were some formulations we did have access to and that we could consider for this. And so we started going through sensitometry charts with our film design team and Marcell on the phone and kind of talking about the way different stocks were going to perform and what might give him a look that would feel classically cinematic and kind of, have some of the similar color rendition and performance that he was looking for. And so we gave him some options and he started testing. And then we came up with this pilot stock, or SO056, as many of you may have known it before we came up with our trade name. But that was generally what happened. And I credit Marcell. It's one of my favorite things to do at Kodak is to be able to put our filmmakers in touch with the people in Rochester who make our film so they can first understand why these filmmakers are asking what they're asking for. I can tell them all day long they want, the look of older stocks, and you've worked all these years to make the most pristine image, and they actually don't want that. But it's great for them to be able to hear it directly from the filmmaker. And so Marcell just did a really good job of articulating, and he is so technical. I mean, not all cinematographers have the technical expertise that Marcell does as far as understanding our stocks and the way they perform. And so he's
And
able
I still don't understand them.
No. He's able to articulate it in a really effective way so that the film design team understood what he was looking for, and they were really able to look at what can we do. And we came up with this product. So
yeah, I think just one thing about the desire to bring back, it wasn't just like a nostalgia thing. I think what Vanessa was saying is that the engineers, they're amazing engineers at Kodak. Like if you're a chemist or an engineer, you want to create the best, technically best possible stock. And I think they kind of did it with Vision 3. The 500T is an amazing stock. You can make it look a bunch of different things just by exposing it different ways or processing it different ways. It has a lot of looks, but it's a scan stock, so it was made to capture as much detail, as much latitude as possible. So it lacks a little bit of flavor, at least when you're looking at a print stock from the 90s, even just from the 90s. There is so much richness to it, and I do this. I go to Newport-Berra and Vista occasionally just to keep that in my eye, even though we don't really make prints anymore, or not a lot of movies are released on prints, or even if they are, most of the people will see it on a DCP. I think when you're like creating something, it's great to have that kind of richness in the back of your head, and so I was looking for something that at least gets closer to that look. And I was trying to explain it in my, I don't know, poor way to the engineers, and I think they understood it. And I think we started with Ektachrome, because I don't think that anyone believed that that cross-processing Ektachrome could look anything on a TV show. But anyway, but I think that convinced them a little bit, and then they were more open.
Yeah, and I think just having a stock that has a flavor forces you to make certain choices. I think, we love the versatility of the Vision stocks, but they are so forgiving. You can underexpose it 4 stops, overexpose it 5 stops, you're fine. This stock is not that way.
Yeah, that's a public service announcement.
Yeah,
it's not that.
The first couple of times I shot the stock, I shot it like Vision 3, and I came back and I was like, I'm still bad at my job. Okay, and I had to break out the light meter and kind of learn filmmaking again, and it was really great. I mean, it's special, and I think, I don't know, was it always rated at 200 when you were giving it to us? Because I think that might have been part of it.
So the one thing I'll just quickly say is that what was so great is Marcell was like the resident expert for the stocks. So anytime people would call me and they're like, what should we rate this at? I'm like, call Marcell. I don't know. But we originally were rating it, I think, at 250 about.
So first, when I shot it, I rated it 400.
Yeah.
And then I was like, might not be 400.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. And I remember having a long conversation about it with Darius Kanji. And I was like, look, I mean, it's 400, but it's not really 400. Then also, it's a tricky thing. Rating is a tricky thing. I'm pretty sure the engineers could talk to this a lot. But where do you expose a night? Where do you expose a day stuff? It's really it's a very subjective thing. And you might expose it at 400 for certain things. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't, but maybe there is a look,
And I've had cinematographers say that they work with it at 400 and they're okay, but we decided to commercialize it at 200 because we wanted people to understand you need light.
yeah,
and we
but I
didn't
think
want.
one thing is very important. Where you set your light meter, it doesn't necessarily mean that the stock is rated at that. It's like, where do you expose? Do you expose for like daytime? Do you expose your like on your inner light meter, or you expose like you measure the brighter side of someone's face and just underexpose that a stop and a half, or just, like,
Yeah, I mean,
I
I think that's part of it. I think Vision 3 kind of it spoiled us, right? I mean, the last movie I did, my key light was 2 stops under. Like,
Yeah,
and it came out fine, and it gave it its own unique look. But if you did that with this stock, you would be, you'd probably be in trouble unless you were going for something, Harris Savides-esque, just like super muddy and dark. And so,
Also, with Vision 3, like at night, you don't use your internet, you just use your spot
yeah, I was going to
meter.
ask, like, I mean, I get asked this question a lot, and I'm curious how you meter on set. Sorry if this is too technical or too nerdy.
It
but like,
depends on
I'm
the
so
stock.
fascinated by this because for
Me
me
too.
it's a mix of sometimes incident meter or camera or just by eye. So what was your experience on this show?
Look, my experience is always I shot a lot of film. I think I'm not that old, but I think I shot a lot of film in my life. And once the first day I get on set on the movie, I'm terrified of where I'm gonna expose this. It's because you just don't. There's no right or wrong about it. Also, you don't really. So you have to figure it out. And that's why it's great to start with testing, but. Yeah, at night I measure only with my spot meter, like night stuff, and I rarely, except for this stock. This stock I don't use my spot meter because I don't think it helps. It requires so much light. It's just and feel, and it's feel light, and it's like it's a little bit like that Ektachrome stock that you like overlight it and you keep apologizing that it's not going to look like that when it comes back, but it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. Should we watch a clip? When I first watched this, I remember which I guess was just a few weeks ago. I remember seeing that shot of them getting in the truck, and I like just snatched my phone up and started texting Marcell because that shot to me was like, oh, it felt so nice to see 65 millimeter film, and you just really felt it. You felt the depth, and you felt just this like richness that you just don't see very often. And the digital large format cameras just don't even come close for me to that feeling. It's so visceral. And I was just curious, like, what your experience was like shooting on 65. You can tell when it's which format. I can't really recall like what the sort of ratio is, but I'd be curious to just hear like what your choices were for shooting on 65 versus 35, and how you fought to do that.
My first reaction was I never want to shoot anything else, obviously, but then. Yeah, I mean it's a great format, and I've never shot IMAX, but I can just imagine that it's like wow, it has a certain kind of richness, which we were really going for, and also I think this stock and the 65 together, I don't know, it was a great combination, and what you see here, I think almost everything is 65 except for those shots through the window, those are 35. I don't know. It's so after a while I started to understand that it's some things sometimes, you sometimes you want a little more grain, and sometimes you want to make it. It's not a gritty format. So if you want to do like a movie that's like has that grit, and it's not your format, but it's just so rich and so I don't know. It's great.
Did you find that I'd be curious, like, what lenses did you use? Were you able to, because a lot of what your previous work on the show, you're shooting like wide open, you're shooting these really dynamic shots. This season in general feels like it has more depth to it. I'm curious, like,
Yeah.
what your focal lengths were, what kind of stops you were shooting at, because it's a completely different feeling.
Yeah, it's totally different, and we went for I shot around 4, and except sometimes the exteriors I shot 5, 6, 8 easily, and especially with the large format, you know, you have a little less depth of field, and it can take it easily, and sometimes for like there are like chase sequences later in, sometimes we were going 11, and just to have like yeah, and it, I enjoyed it a lot, and it's the set of lenses. By the way, the format is the aspect ratio is 2:2, which is the native of the 5 perf 65, and so we chopped off the anamorphic side, the sides of the the 235. So instead of like cropping the top and bottom of the large format, we chopped the sides. We just thought it's I mean, at the end of the day, it's a TV show, it's not in cinemas, and but we wanted to have these vistas and these landscapes, so a little more cinemascope.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Did you find that using the 65 cameras changed the way you move the camera? Because I noticed the show in general this season feels like it has a bit more restraint. It's a little bit more mature. It feels a little bit more like you're watching the characters as opposed to the previous seasons where you felt like you're kind of spinning out with them. I'm curious if the camera had any informed that decision at all.
No, but when choosing this camera, we already knew that it's gonna be a studio mode all the time. It's gonna be Sam, as Sam said it. We have to take like a little more objective look at these people. And also, it's not that many close-ups. It's more like you have a bunch of people in a shot. You have these tableaus. You have these. So yeah, and it's also, and you said it right. I think that it's more a little more mature, maybe a little slower too. Just like have that confidence to stay with the scene a little longer. And
Did shooting 65 change your lighting approach, would you say, or was it just more light? Like, how much did it change the way you had to think about how you
I
would
don't
set?
think that changed it a lot. I knew that I was going for, especially like the stuff on stage and then the night stuff. I knew that as opposed to like everything we did in previous seasons, that it was a little more rock and roll. Like you have like we lit the space, and we had these longer shots. I wanted to make it like very rich. So like there's never like totally pitch black, never anything. Like if you look at that shot looking out the window, she's sitting in front of the window at the breakfast table. And you're exposing for the outside, and so that kind of richness I knew that we needed, which is a little more like a little more of a stage look. Like it's more. I was thinking about these like Hitchcock movies, like Vertigo or North by Northwest, or those movies when you like there is something artificial about it, but there is beauty in that artificial.
Yeah, I think if you have the right collaborators, you want to look at all that. I think a lot of us shoot shallower depth of field because we're on smaller productions where we know we have a great performance, but we don't have an incredible set, you know, or we don't have enough time to dress it the way we want to dress it, or we didn't quite get the location we want to get. And I think it's kind of pushed us into this world of shallow focus, and it's become that sort of trend, and it's really refreshing to see a show or something where you just want to look at every part of the frame. And I think that is a new challenge too, is just finding that deep depth of field. I think that's really, really special. And I was going to ask like how often you shot multiple cameras, if you did.
That's a constant battle between Sam and I. He always wants to shoot 2 cameras. We're always lighting for 1 camera. It's always 1A camera that's like, okay, we're setting that, and then he sneaks in another one, and I just get like, I don't know. I just get, it's always a little bit of a not always, but most of the times it's always a little bit of a compromise. But he just loves it, so yeah.
I do remember that on season 1. When I showed up, I think he took advantage of the fact that I didn't know what everyone was doing, and he was like, on the first day, I was like, this is a single camera show, clearly. Like, Marcell has set it up this way. It looks that way. It's edited that way. And so I'm lining it up like a single camera, and then Sam's just like, where's the other camera? And I can't even find the second camera team. They're like off like a crafty, because they don't even expect to be working. And then Sam just folded them in, and by the end of the week, they were on every setup. But they managed to get interesting stuff, but it's hard, especially with a bigger camera, and when you're doing these really intricate lighting setups. It can be really unsettling as a DP to have a second camera that you can't always pay attention to. So
Also, sometimes they say it's faster, but sometimes it's really not. It's just slower.
yeah, that's. Do you operate
I do, but I had this
only
season-
for the press photos?
Only for the press. Yeah. For behind the scenes, I operate, and then Josh Medak.
Then you
who
go back to your tent.
Yeah. No, I never. Before, because we shoot on film, we don't have a DIT. It's so good. I'm there with them. Yeah. But when we were shooting two cameras, I'm not always operating. We had Josh Medak, who is great,
Awesome, yeah.
and he did a camera for some of it, and some of it I did. It was always like, oh, look, I'll do this one, you'll do the next one.
Yeah. Did you guys do any Steadicam on this season?
Nope, no Steadicam at all.
That's awesome. Sorry, Steadicam operators.
No, it has its place, but sometimes it's so hard, especially when you have like this someone coming in for a day and doesn't know what It's
Yeah, that happened. I actually recall that from season 1. We had like a Steadicam operator one day, and it totally broke Sam's brain, and we never did it again. Should we watch another clip? Sure. How do you, when you guys show up to set every day, what's the process like? When you walk us through a day on set.
I think some of this was the first day of shooting.
Oh wow!
So it was like we walked the stage the days before, so we kind of knew what's what and try to figure out. But it's the first few days always is like figuring out what you obviously spend like 3 months of prep, or on this we had like 3 months of prep, which is not a lot for almost a year of shooting, and you think that you're prepared and everything, but then I think you really start understanding a material when you start shooting it, and it starts to create its own little rules, and I think the first few days are just understanding that. And I remember like we were struggling with the first shot, which was that shot when she's like checking out that girl. That was the first shot of that we shot, and we were like, how this is, and just like picking the right lens for the space, just like figuring out, oh, I'll need this kind of lens for a wide shot, and this for, and it's just it's a little bit of
First day of school energy.
Yeah, and then you learn it, and then it's just like it starts flowing after a while.
But do you guys shot list? Do you guys plan the blocking?
Yeah, I mean, I shot list, and then I present it to Sam, and then he has notes, and then I change it. But then there are things when scripts are changing, and or locations are changing, or actors are not available, and then we have to shoot something way earlier or later, and then you don't have a shot list, and then you still have to shoot a scene.
And are you shot listing before the day, on the day?
No. I usually spend a whole bunch of the prep shot listing, but then we change it all the time. So I don't think there's one single scene here that when we actually shot the exact shot list.
Right. And then as far as because the shot listing is obviously, especially with this show, is so intertwined with the blocking. Are you then suggesting blocking, or are you kind of just assuming things? How does that work with like?
So usually what happens, especially if it's like more than 2 people in a room, that we do a rehearsal, and then I sit in the corner, watch the rehearsal. Sam's sitting in the other corner watching the rehearsal. He's giving notes on acting, obviously, and then we say, okay, we might want to change this blocking or try something else, and we try something else, or maybe it just works the way it is, and then we try something else, it works better, it doesn't work, and you really understand the scene when it's in the space and it's happening in front of you. I mean, you kind of know what it's about, but how the dynamics of it and how you want to shoot it, it keeps on revealing itself as it happens in front of you. So we change the blocking a lot, and then we change our shots, and then you throw your shot list out of the window.
Exactly. It's like come prepared to throw everything away.
Yeah, but it's just a better feeling going to set with something in your hand or in your head rather than just like, okay, let's see how this.
Yeah, it's like setting your intentions and knowing what vibe you want for the scene and being prepared to throw away the shots, but know that you have an idea for what you want to do.
Or you might keep one shot from it, and it's a good one.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love that. How much are you working with the production designer on these sets? Because I mean, this show in particular, the lighting is so built into the sets, and I know that you and Sam love to build sets. Not everyone gets to do that, and you guys do it so well. It's hard to the line really blurs. It's hard for me to tell what's a set and what's not. So I'm curious, like, what your process is and how much you're working with the production designer.
A lot. Francois was the production designer on this season. He so the way we did it is he presented something, and then we started always with some kind of overhead blueprint, and he presented something, and then Sam and I came in and suggested another version of it, and we kept on like evolving it. This is a good example, this strip club, because like a lot of the season takes place in this strip club. It was a build, and we knew that we needed like something that keeps us like fresh, and how to always have new angles, how to create a space that's like big enough but doesn't feel too big. Also, we created this main area, and there's this backstage area and the bathrooms, and that was a hard one to crack, but I was really happy with this one. It's really rare when you have, I think we shot there almost a month and a half, and I didn't get bored, which is a rarity, I think.
No, I find it really interesting how I feel like you guys as a team do such a good job of capturing a location, yet if you asked me to draw a blueprint of that location, I could not at all. I couldn't tell you anything about that location, but it has so much depth, it has so much richness, it has so many portals, things to look through. And I'm curious, I mean, the show, for how dynamic and tableau-esque it can be, it's very immersive, and you really don't do a lot of wide shots. Like, I feel like there's almost never an establishing shot.
Yeah, that's another thing with this large format, is that it renders the space a little different. So you don't really have a lot of lenses. So it's not like you could go to like a really wide to a close-up lens. You might have like a closer lens and a little wider lens, but it's kind of captures. It can work for both, and I don't know if you have. I do have that experience with anamorphic a little bit, not that much, but a little bit, and you just don't need as many lenses.
Yeah, I feel like when I shoot on anamorphic, I'm using 2 or 3 lenses.
Yeah, that's the same thing with large format.
What focal lengths were you using mostly?
I remember having a really good 70 that I did a lot of close-ups with, and then there was a 55 that's probably 70% of the show.
So it's pretty wide. For the show, I feel like that's yeah. When you're designing these sets with the production designer, I feel like every light source is practical, which I know is not the case, but it really feels.
Oh no,
I know, and I know that because I've seen your sets. I've worked on you I know how many lights go into it, but I don't even have a question. I just think it's incredible.
No.
Like, it looks. This show is like technically is. Like, you're at the pinnacle of what people are doing right now, and it's so. I think what you do is so incredible because it feels both natural and like completely maximalist and ridiculous at the same time, and I think it's why everyone's here. It's so mesmerizing, and I'm just curious, like, also like where you draw the line to stop, because it's like I know Sam's a perfectionist, I know you're a perfectionist, and it still has it has that rawness, but it's also very dialed.
I don't know. I think. Thank you. I mean, if half of that is true, I'm very humbled. It's look. It's a lot of lights in this set as well. It's like there are a lot of lights hanging and boxes hanging but the big trick in this set was that we came up with that inner circle of glow of the Edison bulbs, and it was surrounding the stage from both from under, and it was hanging from above as well.
I saw photos of that, yeah.
Yeah, and that was great because you could have them on set, and it motivates a lot of things, and you can use it for lighting as well. But when they're in frame, you want to keep them a little lower, so you have to add something to it, and you want to add a little bit of a direction to it. So we had like boxes hanging there that I could angle. So I thought when you were like a little bit from this direction, you could have like a key light, a little stronger key light from the other side, and the other way around when you turn around. So it was a fun set.
Yeah, and it's so cool that you guys were able to build sets and design sets that allowed you to light like that, but still feel motivated. And I think that's what kind of sets the show apart, is that a lot of people light like that, but they have a set that doesn't inform that decision. And I think what you guys do is you really you come at it from a design angle, and I think that's what kind of sets it apart.
I really love working with production designers and art directors because sometimes you have like a production designer working on like 8 sets at a time, and you have to go to the art director who's responsible for that certain set and like tell him like, what if we move this wall a little bit? Don't tell Francois, but like we could just sneak in a little light box there, and that kind of thing.
Sure. What was 65 versus 35 in this?
I think everything's 65
Is
in
it?
this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. And when you're shooting,
You see those crazy flares?
Yeah.
So this was a set of lenses that Matt Colsey at RE came up with. It's a prototype set because we tested the System 65 lenses, or the old Hasselblad ones. That goes for this. These are the 765 cameras, the RE cameras, and they have a set of lenses. They're a little soft for not in terms of like they're sharp, but they're like they have this like don't have the contrast that I really wanted. And he had this set. He calls them the same way as the DNAs, but they're different lens. I don't know. They don't come up with another name for some reason, but it has these like crazy flares that you could see here. This was the first few days, so we couldn't really figure out yet.
Those are the vertical flares up top. Yeah.
And so you have to really be careful with
To protect the lens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what stock was this?
This was the 500T, all
Okay.
of this.
Yeah. And how did you reconcile that with how strong of a look the other stock was?
I mean, these are mostly night scenes, and and also one important person is Tom Poole, who's the colorist, who is like trying to match this all together and make sense of it in a way to feel like you're watching the same show. Yeah. And also him like cracking, he had a big role in figuring out Ektachrome in season 2, and also figuring out this stock. What's like, I mean, we did a bunch of tests, really, like I think at least 5 tests on film on this stock to figure out what our lot is that we are using for dailies, and I'm lighting based on that, to be honest.
And then compared to how you worked with the new stock, how much were you tweaking that stock once it came back from the lab? And like, how strong was your LUT compared to the 500?
So when we design a lot with Tom, we're always going for what's in the. We're never going against the negative. That's a number one rule. I think that when I'm shooting film, it's not like digital that you have to create something from the material you have. Or at least that's my experience with digital, that you like have to create something almost from scratch every time. Here, you just have to understand what the negative wants to do and try to light in that favor in the favor of that. and we never, if for example, the stock, the Verita, is it's on the really warm side. I wouldn't shoot a movie that's like has a cold and cool look on this stock, because it's just not. It's just going against
You're
what
just fighting
it's.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't think that's a healthy thing.
Yeah. Well, you know someone's going to do it.
Yeah, but and then maybe it's great for that. But
Yeah.
but I just that's my
No,
way.
totally. Yeah. No, it. From my limited experience with it, it definitely kind of shows you how it excels, and it'll be interesting to see how people push it. But I think, yeah, you obviously did.
I'm pretty sure that people will come up with all sorts of ways to make it look different and better.
Yeah.
And
Obviously, every character in this show has a very different energy, and I'm curious if you guys talked about how you shot each character, or if it just naturally kind of came about by the script and the performance, because even just the way you treat Jules feels so different than everyone else. I'm just curious how much that was subconscious versus intentional.
I think I still have it in my phone. I have these notes that I wrote down, like for each and every, not every character, but like almost every storyline, how it should feel to me. Not necessarily like technically, but just like, for Jules, like you wanted like that glass and that like steel and glass and these materials that are like we knew that we wanted to have her for in the previous seasons. She was living in an attic space above something, and we wanted to have that kind of feeling here, but in her grown-up life. And I don't know. It's just like, yeah, I wrote down these things about every storyline, how it should feel, and some of it came through, some didn't. But yeah, at least it was.
Yeah, her storyline to me feels like, at least up to this point, feels very grounded and like much more adult. Whether or not we want that for her, it's what we feel, and I found that really interesting. And I was also curious what was, I can make assumptions on what was a set, but I'm going to make myself look stupid if I.
This was a set.
I assume so. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But was both, because there's also the art studio. Was that
No,
a set
the
as
art
well?
the art studio, the old apartment was a real place. The glass one was a set, and it was that was a hard one.
What kind of backing did you guys use?
I like translights.
Yeah.
And because they give you light, and they are a source of light.
Yeah.
And I really like them. We had a day and a night one, and it's just like it's a giant glass aquarium, and you have to create sunlight in
Yeah,
that.
it's terrifying to make a source feel that big.
Yeah, but also you're surrounded with it's a wall there, so you can't just put a sun there, or
Right.
like, and it's, yeah. So that was hard, but the way we did it is we actually picked the location. This exists, this location, and we built it and took the pictures of the
So
view.
you got to print it, yeah. I mean, it's so often on the projects I do, we don't even have the ability to.
Yeah, and then you rent something.
We can't afford to do it, so we end up spending so much time, lighting it a certain way or dressing the windows, and it's so special to see.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was like, this is probably a set, but it feels so. I mean, it's so fun to be able to shoot that way, and it's very rare to be able to do that.
I think in this, when you have all glass around, there's no way around. You can't rent for that. We had other sets when we had rented backings, but it's a small window or something. Here it was just, that's the set. The translite is the set, basically.
Yeah. Did you guys ever discuss doing it like digitally or anything, or was it always going to be a translite?
Both Sam and I are like very against anything that's like a green screen, or like if we can make it real, we want to make it
Yeah,
real.
because it affects how you shoot it, affects the performance.
Yeah,
if you're,
in
if you're
camera.
staring at a big blue screen, or even on like if you're staring at a digital screen, there's something about the translite that.
Yeah, also
at least-
for an actor, just walking
Yeah,
to like
exactly,
it's not great.
Yeah. And are you lighting these sets with a lot of like newer LED lighting? Are you using a lot of old tungsten? What's your or HMI, because it's daylight
I
stock?
used a lot of HMIs on this because of the stock. I just like, since we were shooting large format film, this stock, I wanted to have like the whole spectrum of light. And with LEDs, I feel like there are some good ones out there, but it's always a compromise. It's like you can feel it on the skin tones that it's not the same.
100%.
We did use some LEDs. We can't get around it, but anytime we could, we used a big source. It was an HMI or some big tungsten source.
I remember Danny, your gaffer, sending me pictures of the light you guys invented. What is it called?
It's the cooler light. I really love it. It's it's that little box. We used it in the strip club a lot. It's just a box of I think 20 light bulbs, and I don't know. It's just a nice light.
So good, I love it. I just want to know what your secret is for lighting, because it's so good. It always
no
looks so
secret.
good. I mean, what are your You don't have to give us your secrets, but what are?
I don't have secrets.
But,
I
what
really
are your?
don't.
But what are some of your when you light everyone so honestly but so beautifully? What are some of the things you like to fall back on, or not fall back on, but what are some of the techniques that you're loving?
Okay, if there is it's not that big of a secret or anything, but I really like for close-ups, I really like a round surface diffusion. It's always nice on the face. I don't know, somehow the fall off, or I can't tell you, but I really like I don't know, a gym ball or anything that's, even if it's just a frost that has a bend to it, or I don't know. It's always different. Also, I do like multiple sources, even if it's a close up. It's like a bounce and a direct diffused and a back. And those things together create something that feels a little more organic to me.
Yeah, and I think one thing I like so iconic about your work is the eye light. I feel like you often have such incredible eye lights, and I remember when I was working on season 1, anytime I lit a shot that didn't have an eye light, that was the first thing Sam mentioned, is that he wanted an eye light. And I wonder if that's something you focus on, or if it's just sort of a product of your lighting.
With Danny, you mentioned Danny. Every time we start a long form project, on the test we have to come up with what the eye light source for that. And sometimes it's the the little mag lights that you can screw off the lens of it. Sometimes it's that, but sometimes in this one we had a bulb in a little casket that was reflective inside. He designed it with the other light, the cooler light.
Yeah.
And that was our eye light. But it's every time it's different. I don't know why, but I don't know.
It's beautiful. And then are you doing do you do digital stills on set? Are you taking any reference?
I don't
photos?
have a digital camera.
Wow. Love
I
that.
don't own one.
Purist. All right. All right.
They're expensive, and also I don't.
I love how that scene starts with the camera movement and then locks off. Is that something you guys talked about?
Yeah. Originally we wanted to have it flowing, like just circling them throughout. But then we realized that the blocking, it's a good example that it's more attention if there is a moment when we just stop. There is a big mistake in there, by the way, and because of that idea, because it's his key light.
I was going to ask about the key light, and I figured it's
Yeah.
because you were dollying around the table.
Yeah. So the thing is that this is a good display of this stock, I think, because this is interior. It's on stage. It's lit. It needs a lot of light.
Yeah,
so
even you could tell how much light you were pumping in there, but his shadow side is still completely falling off.
yeah, so you need to put a big source in there. So when you're circling, you can do 270, but never a 360.
Right.
And then we were circling, and then we had a plan to stop and get the rest of the scene in that shot. But I think we stopped on one and we kept rolling and they kept improving, and Sam used a lot of that in the edit. And it was the other side on the key light was on the other side.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How does that make you feel?
I'm fine. I mean, it's out there, so I'm.
Well, I'll say I only noticed it the second time I watched it because I was looking for things to ask you, and it's completely unnoticeable. And the scene is so good that I could care less.
Yeah, and then their performance was good in that shot, and then
Yeah.
Sam was like, "Yeah, we'll."
And even just the shot selection of who you choose to shoot front on versus profile, it's so it's so dialed, and I'm just curious, like, how much you guys are talking about that on set versus it's just like you're lining it up and it feels right for both of you, and it's just very clear, like what the dialogue between you and Sam is on set.
I don't know. We don't talk a lot because I don't know. This is the third season of
Yeah.
this, and we know each other, and I think we only say something when we feel like something's not right, and then someone has to say something. And
Yeah, it's like you kind of just want to be completing each other's sentences, and you guys are
but
both
I think
working in
you
team.
have that with directors you work with,
100%,
and
yeah. No, that's kind of like, that's the sweet spot, and that's how you can get to scenes like this that are just so crisp, and the editing the editing works perfectly, and it's because of your shot choice and the way you chose to cover the characters, and it's really impeccable, even down to just the inserts of the cards and like the way the light's hitting the glass like across the, it's fun.
That's
Like,
a
I can
little-
tell you're having fun, and it's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's like it's but it adds to sort of how magical the world is, because there's another DP could shoot this and it could just be really dark and grim and scary, but this is so beautiful and it's so rich, and you, as much as you don't want her to be in that space, you really kind of enjoy being in there. And I think that's sort of the magic of this show, is that no matter the space, you want to keep looking at it.
Yeah, but just to speak to the stock, I think this is a good display of like what it can do with skin tones, and it has such a richness. It keeps, I don't know, it keeps surprising me.
Yeah, and I mean everyone in the show has a very unique skin tone, which can be very daunting, but it does the stock treats every skin tone in a very special way. Obviously, you're lighting it. I'm sure you did tests and you were learning as you went. But
Yeah. I think it's something that's, while we're here, it's good to say that this stock really needs a lot of light. So, and if anyone is trying this stock, and it can take more fill light than what you feel like it's tasteful on the set, and it will look good. I mean, I encourage everyone to do tests, because our taste is different, but I would totally go a little more fill than usually what feels right.
Yeah, well, and I think this show too, it's like not only does it like more light, but it also I think it like at a deeper stop, it renders things really beautifully, and I think it's, lately we're shooting a lot of 500T wide open, underexposing it, and it has a beautiful look, but it's exciting to see the pendulum swing in a different direction, going for deeper stops and more light. I think it's really interesting. And fortunately, you guys have these incredible sets and incredible actors, but it's all, sort of working in tandem. I feel like I should let other people ask questions.
Let's open it up. Yeah. Sure.
We've got a mic for Q&A. I just want to quickly say before we go to the audience, Marcell mentioned Ektachrome and kind of what happened on season 2 as being a part of why we were able to do this for season 3. And when I showed, because our film design team, EUPHORIA, is not necessarily their demographic, and so they had not seen a lot of season 2. And I said to them, I'm like, you've got to watch this show and see what they're doing with Ektachrome. And Ektachrome is a really hard stock to begin with, and then cross-processing it throughout an entire series is incredibly hard. And what Marcell and Tom did with that, our commercialization of it in 35 millimeter for season 2, and then what you guys did with it, was so distinct. And it had young filmmakers talking about film again in a totally different way. And I really credit you guys and what you did on that show for that, because I think even people who didn't know anything about filmmaking were seeing that show looked different than anything else on TV. And it really did incite a lot of excitement around the medium. And so I was so happy to be able to partner with Marcell and Sam and Tom to bring a new stock to market. And they were the perfect team to do that with, especially after they had given such a burst of life into film with season 2. But it looks so spectacular, and we're just really proud to have been a part of this season with them in this way, and we're really excited for you guys to try the new stock with lots of light. I also want to just credit Mark Breeze, who's standing back here. He needs to raise his hand. Yeah, when we include specialty stocks on a project, it is not an easy thing to manage. And on both seasons, Mark was the one who was making sure the factory was making product that we don't normally make to the specifications of what they needed on set, and he did an incredible job of that. And it would not have happened on season 2
And
or
we were
season
not
3.
great with our, like, we were like, can you get like 60, this in 65 in 2 weeks? And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
made it happen.
And Mark would call me, I need you to call Rochester right now. So anyways, but he did an incredible job of making this happen. So we're proud to have been a part of it. And I'm really enjoying watching it. I had a special chance to go see a little bit on set and was blown away by the images. But TV does not get to look like this very often. And I really credit the filmmakers for pushing to do this season. So we'll open it up to the audience. If you want to raise your hand, I'll pass the mic around.
Hi there. This is going to be more of a logistics question than like a philosophy question. On travel jobs for the stuff where you're shooting out in the desert like that, I'm kind of curious how you think about stocking and resupply on something like this. Like, are you sending someone back to LA to pick up stock for like a week and coming back? Are you having someone order like 3 weeks of stock all at once, and then you're just like, well, let's just hope my shooting ratio is correct?
We usually have the truck full of film when we go somewhere, but we did shoot this in Lancaster, so we were not that far away. This like 99% of the show is in and around LA, so even the desert stuff is not too far. We did some stuff in Mexico, but that was a few days. But when we go out, we take a lot of film with us.
Just before the first clip, you guys were starting to talk about metering the stock. Is there maybe a couple clips you could talk about of specific instances you might remember of how you metered in certain circumstances?
Sure, happy to. For this stock, I'm metering only with my little ping pong, and I'm not using any spot meter because it's just. It's I don't know, you need a lot of light. And even sometimes I overexpose it. It can handle overexposure pretty well. Under, not really. So you want to be, even if I rated it at 250 during the show, but I always went a little over rather than under. And and since you have, like, especially on this show, you have so many people with so many different kinds of skin tones. It's like you're not trying to get like everyone's like this side of the face, that side of the face, this. No, and another thing I sometimes do when I'm doing like these day interiors, day and night exteriors, I pick a spot that I think like, oh, this is kind of like the middle of the image, and I measure it just to double check. Like this is like a mid-gray, I think. And I measure it with the spot meter just to be sure that I'm on the right. And then also when you're like, there is a window, you want to make sure that you sometimes have to spot meter that like, okay, you're like balancing this the right way. The sky is out, you're looking out a window, there is a blue sky, the sky is like 2 over, so I still have that, it's a nice blue, it's gonna be nice. That kind of things you might spot meter, but last scene here, I don't think I was using my spot meter at all.
Hi. My question was, with like all these kind of complicated lighting setups you guys are working with, what's your like relationship with the AD and making sure that you have time to schedule these things?
Ooh, it's so I think if you have to deal with the AD, that's or you already lost it a little bit. We really so this is a big show. We have a lot of resources, and I'm trying to pre-light and have everything ready and going, and also in the design of the lighting have the flexibility to turn around quickly. So although there's a lot of lights here, and we bringing some lights and we're hanging a lot of lights, it's pretty fast on the day. I don't think we're waiting on me lighting ever. It's by the time you get the actors out from makeup, you're ready. So there's no such thing as waiting on. Maybe I adjust something a little bit or something, but we're talking about a minute, a half a minute, not 30 minutes, hours of lighting.
What was really cool was like you guys talking about the reference to print. I was curious if there was like any thought to fully process in color time, or what your experience with the stock is in DI, because you said that you like to embrace the stock for what it is. So what is your process like in the DI and
Sorry,
color?
so I get it right. You mean that like to go fully analog? You meant?
Yeah, was there any thought to maybe do that at all, or was there any experimentation? And from just embracing the stock as is, what is your relationship with it like in the DI and in color?
It's a big dream of mine to just have it on print, and maybe even like for television doesn't make a lot of sense. But actually, I did tests for season 2 to rescan a positive print of something. But there's so many things going on with this thing, and it's not necessarily just VFX, but tiny things to clean up, tiny things. You can't on this show you can't skip the scanning part of the negative. So it wasn't really a question, but what we did before for another for season 2 that we had a premiere print that I really wanted to scan and make that the look of the show, but we were too late with that, so it didn't work out. But by the time we got the print, it didn't work out with the air times. But it looked pretty great, the 35 print scanned back, to answer your questions. And the other part of the question, I think for this particular stock, and also with the 500T, with your exposure and with your lighting, you set a certain look to the negative that I think it's if you did your job good, you don't have to work against the negative ever.
Hi, fast question. In terms of speed, how many setups you had per day or average?
It
count?
depends on how complicated the scene is. I think you never. I don't think we ever had less than like 16, but sometimes you do like 30. You know, but you know, what counts as setup? You know, sometimes you just grab a quick insert of something, but then you have like a long dolly shot, so it's hard to compare that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a normal movie. Not a television pace, but a normal movie pace.
Yeah, so that makes sense. I only do oneers, so I don't know.
Yeah, Adam is into oneers. He's not. It's in his contract, 1 shot a day.
Hello. I have a question for you and Adam. When you guys first received the script, I want to know your thought process and philosophy when reading the story, and how do you guys interpret it and bring it to more technical process to pre-pro and then obviously the shooting day.
Are you talking about this show or just in general?
Just in general, when you get a story.
For me, it's just getting to know the director and the person who's making it. I think that's like 99% of what I do. Is just spending time with that person and figuring out why they're making this and why we're here and why we're even in the same room together. And from there, so many things kind of fall into place, especially technically. I try not to I've had this thing where recently I've been shooting with a lot of actors turned directors who are often acting in the thing they're doing, so it's a different process entirely. But I try not to burden the director with a lot of technical jargon or a lot of busy work. So for me, it's a lot of just like watching movies and talking about what we love, and then from there doing a lot of my own homework and figuring out how to present a plan that is completely, our voice, their voice working together, but it's really just like quality time together.
100%. It's really about just figuring out what that person wants to do, and then the rest is so easy compared to that. I think once you're on the same page, and if you ask Janusz about if they talk with Spielberg, and it's like they're not talking about they've done 20 movies together, and they're just like, yeah, I read the script and we go to set and we shoot it, and I mean he's probably exaggerating, but I understand that they know each other. He knows what he wants to do, and yeah. But when you're working with someone new, it's really important to put in the work to understand that person, and yeah.
Hi, I'm Margaret. Such a fan of Euphoria. I especially love the night scenes. My first question is, can you share your favorite location that you've shot at night? My second question is, what's the origin story of how you and Sam met?
Favorite location? I don't know. I don't know. There are so many. I don't know. I got to like the desert this season. I never shot that much in the desert before, and I'm not from this part of the world, so I don't really know the desert that much. And I got to see the night desert and the morning desert and the evening desert, which was a great experience for me. And the other part of the question, oh yeah, how we met with Sam. I'm from Hungary, Budapest, which is very far from here. And he saw a movie I did called White God. It was about dogs. It's a Hungarian
Incredible movie. You guys have to see it if you haven't seen it. It's so incredible.
I haven't seen it since. I'm scared to watch it. It was the first movie I shot. And he saw that, and he asked me to do his movie, which we went to Sundance, and then that's how we met. And
I was gonna say that was a good question about and what you brought up about not being from here, because this show, especially this season, I mean, all the seasons are very Americana, and it's almost to the point of kitsch in a really fun, interesting way. And I imagine that's fun for you. It reminds me kind of how like Robbie Mueller, the Dutch cinematographer, shot America, and I think.
But even just if you think of Morricone, it's like it's an Italian guy, like designing the soundscape of the West. You know, I don't know. It's a trip.
Were you in either talking about it or thinking about specific films, or was it more just sort of this like unconscious like familiarity with like, you know, old classic westerns and like sort of that John Ford era? Because you really feel that, like it feels like, you know, that first clip, it feels like a scene from Searchers or something, you know. So I'm curious how much you guys talked about that overtly versus just it being part of the sort of psyche of filmmaking.
Oh yeah, Sam was watching a lot of westerns, and then like definitely watched Rio Bravo again, and but for me it was more that 50s Hitchcock thing, not necessarily the genre of it, but like the colors of it, and I don't know, I just that like old Hollywood. A little artificial.
Yeah, there's a bit of artifice, but it's like it's so well done that you can't help but just like believe the world entirely.
Yeah. I that was my go-to, but I don't know. I felt like it should be a collage of tribute collage to American cinema in a way.
That goes directly into my question, which is, how much conversation did you have about large format and 35, and was it an emotional decision on Sam's part, or was it sort of influenced by what you knew you were going to be shooting? So what was that conversation, and why did you choose to shoot on them differently when you did?
So first it was, I wanted to test it and to show it to Sam for a specific sequence that's in the show, and I just showed him that like we could shoot this sequence on 65. How fun would that be? And it's not in the show. I mean, we didn't shoot it, so we shot like one shot of it. It turned into a different thing, but so it was something for that. And then we looked at it and it was like we should just shoot every like big landscape scene on this. And then we started shooting, and I was like, what if we just shoot this on 65 as well, and then just this, and it's the 60% of the show is on 65, and so sometimes when we were like a really long dialogue scene, then we didn't shoot it on 65 or some second unit stuff, but yeah, that's how it started.
Sorry. I've never seen the show before, but it looks great. I was curious. You said you shot for a year? Like literally?
176 days, yeah.
Okay. What was your page count a day, roughly?
It's different because sometimes it's 6 pages, sometimes it's a half a page. So yeah, I don't know. It's I didn't, but I'm around 3-4 pages, I guess. That's
Sometimes the long page count days are the easiest for DPs because it means it's a bunch of dialogue. Yeah. I'm most scared by the small page count days. When it's a half page, you're in for a really tough day.
Exactly.
Just out of curiosity, do we get to see any of the 16 of this new stock on the season? So big to go so small.
We didn't shoot any. I mean, there's one shot in there. I have a little A minima camera, and I shot one shot on it, but that's it. I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Tin. I'm AFI student. I'm very excited to be here with you today. I love your show. It's absolutely fantastic, and I'm very inspired by all of your creation that you've done. I would like to ask you about the highlight again. When you're doing a push-in, for example, in like one of the examples that you were showing in the second clip, I think in the bar, you can't really have it, right? Because then it would appear or something like this. Are you hiding this, or what is your approach?
I don't know which shot you're talking about exactly, and even if I would, I'm not sure I would remember what happened there. But yeah, I mean, there are 2 ways to do it, 3 ways. First way, easiest one, don't do it. Like you don't have a highlight, but it might, yeah. And then there is a way, like you can do something like you put something like pretty bright but small source in the distance, and that creates an highlight but doesn't really affect your lighting. And also, another thing you can do is just walk with the camera and dim it down slowly as you walk closer to camera. But yeah, it's very lame. But
Hi, my name is Juan. As someone who is also not from here, there's a line in episode 2 that the lady says, "America, my dream," and I was wondering how much of the show is improv, and if that line itself is improvised, you know, and also if you like it, you know, because I know a lot of filmmakers, they don't like it. They don't like improvisation, so yeah.
that line is definitely not improv. That's a very Sam line. But there is a bunch of improv in there. Mostly, the Alamo did a lot of improv, and he was great at it. We always had like an extra take for him, like for improv and sneak in those moments. But yeah, I don't know. But it's pretty much written, most of it.
Hey there. Wanted to just ask more of like your background, just how you got into cinematography and up until what you're doing now.
So as I said, I'm from Europe. I'm from Hungary, and I studied filmmaking there. It's an old public school university for filmmaking. It's pretty cool because you get to study there for free for 5 years. It's hard to get in. It's like 8 people a year, and there's a lot of people want to get in. But once you're in, it's you have like a 5% chance that you will become a DP because it's a small country. So at the end of the day, like from the 8 people, there will be 2 working as DPs. So it's a long, but it was a great school. I learned from really good filmmakers who were actually active filmmakers at the time. And then I started shooting. I did a short film during those years at the university that went to Cannes Film Festival, and that was kind of known in the country. So I started, as soon as I graduated, I started to do feature films, but Hungarian feature films, and I was lucky enough to work on one that made it out of the country and got distribution around the world, and that's how I started to work in other stuff.
We're going to do one last question.
Hi, I had two questions, but maybe I'll just keep it to one. Are you shooting this stock under tungsten lighting? And if you do, are you rating it differently?
Very important. No, I don't. And I think it's important to understand it's a very warm stock. And even if you like use like Agemizer, go like around 6,000 Kelvin, it still comes in like pretty warm. And I would not. I mean, we tested it. It's possible. It gets pretty monochrome, and you need even more light from if it's tungsten. It doesn't have that striking color thing. It's a bummer because it would be so great too. But hopefully, maybe we ask Vanessa to make a tungsten balanced stock that can match this, or I don't know. It's yeah.
Did you ever push or pull it?
I did sometimes push on 65 because you can't tell the difference. Yeah. But if I didn't have to, I didn't. There was no reason to. It's not that different. It doesn't even have that difference as the 500T that it gets a little more flavor. It's kind of the same. If you push it, it's just, and it's not. I wouldn't rate it like 400 if I push it. I would rate it 320 maybe or something.
I'll ask one more question, actually, because before we came out here, you and I were talking a little bit, all three of us were talking about the challenges of getting support to shoot film on television. And then just in general, the challenges of getting support to shoot film. And by nature of being at the Kodak house, so these people are interested in shooting on film. So if you guys could just talk a little bit about that experience as cinematographers and how you work with your director to kind of command the choice to shoot film on the projects that you're successful in converting.
It's always a battle, and it's always usually an uphill battle, and it's not even. I don't think it's that much of a budgetary thing. I mean, obviously there are very small projects when it can really affect the budget. But I just did, like during the strike, I went back home to Hungary and I shot a movie that I think the budget was like 400,000 overall, and we shot it on 16 millimeter. We spent all our money on film, and we didn't have lights, but we had film. And we just chose the location that way, and you know, but I think it's more about we were just talking about it a little bit, but it's more about control and like producers being unfamiliar with it and scared of it, and I don't know. It's always it really helps if your director pushes for it, I think.
Yeah, I think as a DP, I'm definitely drawn to directors who want to shoot on film, and that's the last 3 films I've been lucky enough to shoot on film, and the only way we were able to do it is because the directors did not compromise and refused to do anything else, and that was really the only way. Like, no like pitch from me or song and dance or amazing deal is going to really like be the selling point. It's really going to be about, if you're a DP, it's about working with your director to make sure you guys are both in love with the idea and that you can't imagine it any other way. And then also being prepared to make every single compromise you can imagine and then some, a lot of times, and it's worth it. Like the movie I did that we talked about here, Splitsville, we cut 5 days off the schedule just to shoot on film, and we figured out a way to do it. And at the end of the day, they were still cutting stuff out of the rough cut. That stuff that probably would have just been on the edit room floor anyways. So, it's worth its weight in gold, and it's really it's something that you just have to be in love with, and it's something that the leaders of the project have to be on board with. And it's kind of our job as DPs to bolster that and then do a really fucking good job of shooting it when we get to do it.
Yeah, and the trick is when it comes to like budget and all that to make really the whoever is putting together the budget, your production manager or producers, to really account for all the costs that digital require. Like,
that's a good
like
point.
really think about the DIT, all that post production money, all that. So and then if you compare, it's not that big of a. I just did a movie a month ago, finished a movie that I think is like around 10 million budget. It sounds like a lot of money, but it's a small movie. And yeah, I told them that I'll make the compromises on my lighting equipment and we don't need like cranes and stuff, but I just want to shoot film. And then we really compared the budgets, and it wasn't that big of a difference.
Yeah, and I find also like color timing is such a different experience. The last movie I did that
Definitely
is playing. It's similar, even smaller than the one you were mentioning. You know, we had our camera, lighting, and grip package all fit in like a 14-foot truck for most of the time, and we still shot on 35. And you know, I've been shooting another project, so I couldn't be there for the color grading. I only had 3 days available, and we were able to grade the movie in like 3 days. Because the film just had magic out of the box. Whereas digital, if I shot that film on digital, I would be like drop dead 2 weeks. There's no way I'm going to be able to like let anyone see this movie unless I go through every single frame and fuck it up as much as I possibly can. So it's really, you know, there are clear benefits to shooting on film, and you do in some ways you can save money shooting on film. You know.
Well, thank you both. I've been waiting 4 years to get you here to talk about this, Marcell, so it was a great
Thank
night.
you so much for
thank
coming,
you.
guys.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Adam. And I hope we get to do this the other way around about the studio. Thank you.